how to solo Torghast as a relatively undergeared hunter. In this video I'd love to share with you some of my tips for starting players, for people who are not super confident in pushing this kind of solo friendly but at the same time rather challenging content by themselves. I'm here to make it all better, hopefully for you, my friends. Let's do this, let's talk about it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year! If you haven't watched my previous videos where I did express my warmest holiday wishes for you, I hope you're enjoying the holiday season and are staying safe during that holiday season, and all the best to you, my friends. So today we are talking about Torghast. We're coming back to the tower. It's going to be less about my impressions of Torghast and more about how you, as a not super confident, perhaps new player, can take your relatively undergeared hunter, if it's similar to my alt over here, through Torghast without too much stress. So some talents are the ones that you need to take, some tactics work better for hunters and stuff like that. So I am just sharing my honest opinions, and I welcome as always your feedback, questions and contributions, as people have been contributing to this channel, in the comments down below. How do you solo Torghast? What do you do on your hunter, specifically hunters? And yes, we are going to have similar videos for other alts of mine, for other classes, for other specs, because Torghast, one way or another, is the solo friendly content that I was looking forward to in Shadowlands, and it's time for us to start spending time there. Alright, so Torghast has 6 named wings, so to speak, and then the Twisting Corridors. Twisting Corridors have not been opened but at the time of recording of this video, so I cannot provide much of an insight into how you solo those areas of Torghast. We will be speaking about that in the future, once Twisting Corridors are available to us all. At the moment of recording of this footage, I am very early in kind of the process of gearing this fresh Beastmaster Hunter alt, and there will be an updated gearing guide as well. So in this particular case, we are still in the item level range where we're trying to reach the item level necessary to start queuing for heroic dungeons. We're not even talking mythics here, so it is undergeared by every stretch of imagination. My hunter here is in Beastmastery spec, and the item level is 153. To queue for heroics you need 155. I am currently on orders from Mr. Bolvar for Dragon, who sends me to Torghast to investigate further, and the prize is going to be a fairly nice, at this stage of the alt progression, gearing progression, very nice blue cloak of the heroic item level, 171, which should be sufficient for me to push to heroics, but that's beside the point. So I'm both kind of exploring Torghast right now, sharing my thoughts with you, obviously some tips that will be very applicable for very fresh alts like this, the ones who cannot just brute force through content, yeah? And at the same time I'm gearing my alt, so it's a double whammy, triple whammy, however many whammies do you see there. So first advice for you, my friends, is the fact that have your expectations being realistic as possible. It will take you about half an hour to go through Torghast, give or take a few minutes here or there. Level 1, so you progress through Torghast by going through levels. There are multiple levels of Torghast wings. We obviously start with level 1, level 2, level 3 and so on are not open until you have dealt with the levels before. Might be obvious to you, is not so obvious for other players, so bear with me. Firstly, you need to go Beast Mastery. I'm not saying that if you're particularly skilled or particularly geared or both, that you cannot do it as survival or that you cannot do it as marksmanship. Of course you can, but when you are undergeared, and in Torghast specifically as content, as type of content, I believe, and my advice to you is don't fool yourself, don't listen to elitists, go Beast Mastery and be done with it, okay? Why? At a high level, because Beast Mastery offers you more instant attacks, it allows you for better tactical positioning, remaining on the go while continuing to dash out attacks, yeah? There are fewer channeled attacks or longer cast time, even if it's a bigger shot like aimed shot of marksmanship hunters. There is none of that there. You don't need to deal with any of that. You can just keep biting and keep shooting at the enemies as Beastmasters do. Play to your strength. My essential advice to you in this video and in videos that I'll prepare for other classes, obviously we'll be talking about other aspects of gameplay for other classes in Torghast. You need to play always to your strengths. You need to remain at range, you need to keep your pet engaged as a meat shield and as someone who cleaves the enemies and who keeps the smaller groups of enemies and single enemies on themselves. Don't forget that Beast Mastery is not particularly known for widespread AoE. It's not. You need to try to tunnel through the enemies. You need to try to tunnel, you need to try and melt single targets or double targets or triple targets down. You need to do small cleave. You need to make sure that your pools are controlled. That is, I suppose, the main advice for you. And some of the talents, some of the other tips that I'm going to continue giving you throughout this video are going to hopefully add to this picture and help you a little bit further. So, speaking of the pet, because Beast Mastery, obviously we are very much pet dependent class and spec, I say go Ferocity. Do not even think about anything else because you want Life Leech. You go Ferocity, but if you watched my video of Fantastic Beasts of Shadowlands, this is your opportunity to take a look at my channel if you have not. It's not maybe the most extensive guide on pets in Shadowlands, but it tells you quite a bit that you need to know. And basically Ferocity pets can have different types of additional secondary abilities. So some Ferocity pets could have a Magic Dispel. Some Ferocity pets, however, can be more tanky. And in this particular case, I obviously encourage you to have a tanky Ferocity pet. Some pet that has Life Leech, because it's a family of pets that is of Ferocity nature, but they also do something like defensive matrix on them, something like increased dodge on them, something like some shield on them. So something that occasionally allows them to mitigate vast, big amounts of damage and kind of keep things under control a little bit better and ultimately just stay alive longer for you as a player. So the couple of options kind of off top of my head that I can give you are Ember Worms of Kyrians in Bastion, you can find them, and Ardenweald Unicorns Coursers. They're pretty good too for that purpose. Life Leech, as I said, already helps keep the pet and yourself up a little longer. It all adds up. A little bit of life back is always good. You can just, you do not have to then press mend pet, and it's on a cooldown as well. It's not like Warlocks, it's a little bit, management of your health and of health of your pet is going to become a serious task for you in Torghast, especially the higher you go in levels, which is important. At level 1 you could just wave it off and say, Gyro, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, in many cases it doesn't, but it becomes more important, and right now for you to do the right thing, and doing the right thing establishes the right pattern for you on how to solo Torghast going forward. In Beast Mastery talents, I will have to tell you that you have to, in my opinion, take 2 mandatory talents. The rest are free, up for grabs. First one is without a doubt Camouflage. Camouflage is basically stealth for a minute on a minute cooldown. It's fantastic. And it helps you skip a lot of content, a lot of trash in Torghast. It saves you the time, it saves you the stress, and as I just said, look, level 1, level 2 towers, you kind of, people would say to you in some other guides, I suppose, a lot of people say you have to break every single jar, every single Ashen Phylactery or whatever they're called, the ones that are giving you Phantasma, and you have to kill everything so that you get as much Phantasma as possible. Yes, that becomes more important at the higher levels, 3+, I'd say 3+, level 3, level 4, and so on and so forth, because their challenges are really, really tough, and you want to fight for those extra boosts of your power by getting as much Phantasma as possible and then buying Anima powers for your class. At level 1, at level 2, you need to know what you're doing, but at the same time, it's kind of a lot more forgiving. So I would say at these levels, skipping content is a lot more beneficial to you than breaking and breaking every jar and picking a fight with every trash mob. I wouldn't do it, which is why I'd say that Camouflage is absolutely mandatory. Then the second talent is Post Haste. You need to take Post Haste, because if you're playing as a Beastmaster Hunter specifically who remains on the go all the time, and you're playing without Post Haste right now, what are you doing? What are you doing? And why? Why are you doing it? I don't judge, but I'm just dumbfounded if you're doing it to yourself, because I honestly think that post-haste adds so much mobility for hunters. It speeds you up after they sleep. Yes, you need to learn the trick of moving the mouse very quickly, and you can basically move forward with post-haste. It works with disengage, and disengage normally throws you back, but if you jump, turn while you are in the jump, right, and then you jump, then you disengage while in the air, you can jump and move forward and then speed yourself up. Additionally, it breaks roots, it breaks CC, and in Torghast, you will want it, my friend. There is a lot of environmental hazards happening and a lot of other telegraphed attacks that you would want to leap out of. Absolutely take post-haste and just, you know, thank me later. From the Covenant choice, I'm Venthyr. If you watched my previously published video of choosing a Covenant for a Hunter, there are lots of different choices you can make. I benefit from Venthyr. In this particular case, I'm not even as much relying on the Flayed Shot, but I'm relying on Door of Shadows. I actually don't think that I've used Door of Shadows too much in this particular run, but you'll have to trust me that especially the higher you go in the tower, the more often you will try to do skips of traps with Door of Shadows. You will use that teleport actually quite often. So if you want to use an advice here, and if you're still choosing a Covenant, I suppose, and Torghast is one of the use cases that you're going to be pursuing, one of your gameplay choices, I reckon Venthyr is going to give you a lot. Now, looking at anima power choices that I make throughout this run, you've already seen probably a few here in the background. I say, first of all, not claiming to have learned every single power or every single synergy, not claiming to be a pro, I never do in my videos, just sharing what I have, what my learnings are with you. Invest as a Beastmaster into naturally boosting your pet's health and damage. Wow, what a surprise, Gyro, it's a Beastmaster. Ignore stuff that you will not use. It doesn't matter. The quality of the anima power, rare, epic and above, don't matter if it is boosting something that is not your gameplay choice and you have no reason and no desire to explore it. For example, there is stuff that kind of boosts your tar traps or something, or creates exploding Morats or something like that. There is a moment in this footage, and I cannot perfectly time my narrative to you with what's happening in the background there, but there was probably already a moment where I had a choice to make, where an epic power, anima power, was given to me, and that power was, I think, had something to do with not Morats, but it is actually a very good power. It would give me Bestial Wrath effect for a minute at the start of every floor. Fantastic, right? For a minute I'm doing heaps more damage. I can just try and charge through and plow through, right? Well, it's your choice. If that's how you want to play, go for it. I chose to be more stealthy. I'm at level 1. Like I said to you, for me, it's more beneficial, and I recommend to you to invest more into the camouflage play and skip a lot rather than just charge through like a train, like a freight train, right? So that's why in that particular choice, when it was presented, I actually picked a rare anima power as opposed to that epic one, and I've taken the one that reduces my damage taken by 50%, which is huge whenever I disengage. I disengage all the time. It's a fantastic extra way for me to boost my survival. That's just an example for you. So you need to look at powers and look at how basically they synergize with how you are playing. It is absolutely very, very important to say that there is a moment, it either already happened in the footage behind me, or it will happen soon at some point. I will definitely edit it in so that you can see it. Because Torghast is bugged in some ways, I'm not saying the whole system is buggy, but I'm saying they tested it poorly, and I reported this bug, and obviously still it hasn't been fixed. I reported it explicitly, I reported it in beta. If you spend a little too long, and by a little too long I mean like 40 seconds, like I'm not talking 5 minutes staring at a screen, I'm talking 40 seconds to a minute reading descriptions of the anima powers for a bit too long. It's intermittent, I'm not sure that there is a hard timer and that's when it happens, but anyway, if you spend a little too long looking at anima powers, they just disappear from the screen as if you've made your choice, or as if you missed an opportunity to pick a power. And it's not like you just missed an opportunity, that's it mate, now off you go. But you also cannot then pick up the subsequent power, because it feels like the first power that you have missed out on, that it's queued up somewhere there. And when you click anywhere in that UI, you cannot see that pending power, the one that is currently blocking further powers from being taken, if it makes any sense. It's like a broken chain in a broken link in a chain of powers, yeah? If that happens to you, and if you start getting those red errors on the screen that happen then, what you need to do is log out. The command that refreshes UI, the /console reload UI, doesn't work. I tested it. What you need to do is log out and log immediately back in. Don't linger, don't dwell, you don't want to lose your Torghast progression. But if you log out, then you log back in, you will be still there exactly where you logged out in Torghast. It doesn't reset you to the start of the level, and that error will be fixed. You will be able to then pick subsequent powers without being blocked. That had to be said. That's a tip of how to survive solo as a soloist in Torghast. Applies to every class, obviously, and is specifically addressing a bug that they let into production. Don't ask me why. Now, rescuing souls and breaking those ashen phylacteries, or those jars, basically, yeah? Let's talk about that very, very briefly. You can rescue souls. I'm not saying you have to when you're on a quest. That's obvious. I'm not guiding you through that. But I'm saying that should you bother? Well, when you rescue the souls, each soul saved gives you +1% of your primary stat. So over time, especially if you rescued a lot of souls, and I'm gonna say 15 plus souls, it gives you 15+% to your primary stat. So it does make you stronger. It is less important at level 1 of the Torghast wing that you're doing currently, and it becomes substantially more important the higher you go. That's where your extra boosts of power work much better and are more worth your while. Same goes for breaking of those ashen phylacteries and picking up every bit of Phantasma. I already mentioned it to you earlier in this video. I, in this case, chose to skip a lot, and I think that it didn't deny me progression. It was fine. But if you are pushing, if you are still relatively undergeared and you're past this point, but you are like in Torghast level 3, level 4 trying to push that, that's when you will want every bit of help. So that hopefully goes without saying. Now, as I said, I'm playing a stealthy Beastmaster, and I'm recommending that you play stealthy Beastmaster for the interests of time and just hitting the target very, very quickly. I recommend using camouflage whenever you can. You skip a lot of Phantasma, you skip a lot of enemies, but that's all it is. Biggest things are, look, use your imagination, use your spatial awareness, take a look at where you would want to go, how do you want to avoid patrols and stuff like this, it goes without saying. But generally, if there is a corridor and there are two guards standing there, never go between them. Always go on the side of one, unless there is literally no space. Unless there is literally no space and the space between them is actually wide enough for you to squeeze right in. That's kind of general advice on stealth use. It's not a guaranteed strategy. Obviously, sometimes they'll detect me, and some detected me, and I was fairly ambitious there. I kept pushing ahead, and I think I even died at one point. But you learn from it. It resets you to the start of the level. You go again. As long as you don't just do the same dumb mistake again, as long as you make some corrections, you will be alright. You will be fine. Now, specific wings. Soul Forges, in my experience so far, Soul Forges and the Cold Heart Interstitia wings, they were the most troublesome. Soul Forges, again, nothing is too troublesome at level 1, and you will be fine. But from level 3 onwards, they become troublesome because Soul Forges, there are just too many areas where there is an ambient environmental fire damage happening. And as a hunter, not as a warlock, not as a death knight, not as a demon hunter, but as a normal hunter, you have only a few self-healing abilities available to you and on a cooldown. Even as a Draenei, you have Gift of the Naru and it's on 3-minute cooldown. Exhilaration has talents, has powers that can reduce its cooldown, but it's still not always available. Life Leech from your pet helps a lot, but not enough at a certain level of environmental heat pressure on you, basically. And there is nothing, you can't suck the life out of the enemies. It will be very frustrating. Be aware that that's going to be happening to you at some point, and only, I imagine, only the level of gear, item level of gear, is something that's going to help us blast through that. At the moment, however, at my item levels, there is certainly that ceiling and that issue that I'm seeing, and that's where it becomes really, really frustrating. Just be aware of it. It's not an issue for you for now. Buying anime powers. The brokers, those who sell you anime powers, those people in a bubble, they appear at level 3 and at level 6 just before you engage the last boss. Main advice for you, my friends, especially if you're skipping on Phantasma, especially if you're not swimming in Phantasma, in that currency that allows you to buy the powers, main advice for you is this. Take a close look at the broker, at the vendor, take a closer look at the powers, take a closer look at the obvious stuff. Is there anything I can do to substantially boost my pet? Is there anything I can do to substantially boost my damage, my key abilities, kill command, kill shot, things like that? And if no, if you don't see that, then if you're at level 3, if that's happening at level 3, save your Phantasma. Don't just buy anything, something, just to spend your Phantasma. Save it. Accumulate a little bit more Phantasma on the way to level 6. And then take a look again. The vendor stock might have replenished. I'm not actually sure, not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it replenishes, changes a little bit what's on offer. And then you might be able to spend that Phantasma to buy something more substantial, boosting yourself with everything you've got before engaging the final boss. One particular thing to look out for, and I'm not sure if it's just a randomly available power, sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not, or if it is specific to other classes, because last time I saw it, I was playing a protection paladin, believe it or not. I have not seen it on my hunter, by the way. But be aware that at one point, especially before the end boss, I think it's before the end boss always, there is a power / potion that costs Phantasma, as everything does, and you need to have enough Phantasma to buy it. What it does, it increases your damage by 30% while you stay in combat. So obviously, as soon as you engage the boss, the fight will go for quite some time, well, relatively, and you engage the boss, you are in combat, drink the potion, enjoy much more stronger, much higher damage output. So that is one good example of something that I would recommend that you, as a Beastmaster Hunter, as any undergeared character, that you would look for, and that will make your fight with the end boss much easier. Finally, speaking of end bosses, they are very different. There is a whole library of those end bosses that can be there. I think that they're specific to the wings, like it's not like every single boss can be encountered in every single wing of Torghast. But regardless, point is that you need to be ready to meet them, and generally, even though they are all very different, they are either simplistic, like this one was in this particular example of this Torghast run of level 1 that I did. It's pretty much tank and spank. I could have just not interrupted anything and still been okay. It would just have taken me a tiny bit longer. But generally, these fights, they have two things to look out for. You either need to avoid an obviously telegraphed ability, just get out of it, or you need to watch out for the most impactful ability that the boss casts, and you need to have your finger very much on interrupt and interrupt it. That's it. You just need to be aware of that, as obvious as it is. There are some particular exceptions, and you may need to die once or twice before you figure them out, but that's fun of the game. Example, I forgot the name of the boss, but in one of the wings of Torghast, maybe upper reaches, maybe some other one, don't quote me on that, there is an undead Ravager, a big undead Ravager looking creature. He is the end boss. What he does is he enrages, as in his enrage stacks go up whenever you move. So that's a particular, fairly unique mechanic. There's nothing to interrupt. You just need to limit your movement when you fight him. So, and he does telegraph an ability at a certain point, so you have to, at some point you have to move, yeah? But what I'd do as a Beastmaster if I met that boss, I would just literally disengage once, jump out of whatever that damaging ability AoE that he's doing, and then I'd stay there on the bare minimum of almost unavoidable, like 1 or 2 stacks of that enrage, as opposed to 10 or 20 that is gonna wipe you. That's an example, another example for you for something to look out for. Other than that, again, Pick the right talents. Invest in your pet. Don't be silly like me, sometimes pushing a bit too brute force and dying from it. I did not bother using misdirect. In case you're thinking I skipped a lot of things that are very specific to hunters, I did not skip anything of importance at this stage of me teaching you how to solo level 1 of this and making you aware of some things that are level 2, 3, 4 and after. So I did not bother mapping misdirect. I did not bother using any traps. Can you? Yes, of course you can. Do you have to? I do not think you have to. And that's all I think you need to know to be able to start soloing Torghast a little more confidently, solo with a pet-based class, in this particular case, Hunter, who lacks self-healing, and that is going to become for undergeared characters an issue at levels 3+. But we will continue trying to brace ourselves through Torghast. We will continue talking about other classes, Warlock, Paladin, Demon Hunter, and so on and so forth. I'm an altoholic still. I have lots of alts. I'm going to be reanimating them after having deleted them before Shadowlands has, dropped upon us to kind of create myself a little bit more of a focused experience. But now I'm going to be starting to bring them back and going to be reporting to you, my friends, here on how I go through Torghast and other types of content. If you're not subscribed yet, maybe you discovered this video completely randomly, maybe someone recommended it to you, consider joining our very friendly, casual club of World of Warcraft players. We play for fun, we don't take it too seriously, we learn from each other, and hopefully I'm able to share some fun and some advice, useful advice, hopefully, with you here over the weeks that you're gonna be with me, hopefully, here. Alright, have lovely holidays, enjoy the festive new year and all of that kind of stuff, and I will be speaking to you again in a couple of days' time. Videos are being still released twice a week. Maybe in this holiday season we have a tiny bit longer gap between them, but nothing too long for you to get too bored, my friend. Talk to you soon. See you later. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. See you later. Bye bye.